Hello, bookish friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Abby, and this is Abby Reads. Today I'm going to be talking about my October wrap-up. First of all, happy November. As you can see, the background has changed. We are now doing Christmas lights because spooky season has come and gone, unfortunately. I finished 2 series this month, so that means that I have met my goal of finishing 10 already started series this year, and I'm so pleased with myself. I already have some more books that I feel like I should be reading in regards to series, so I will continue to knock those series out, but you guys can catch those in my finishing series vlogs. For the month of October, the first book that I read was The Last Legacy by Adrienne. This is the third book in the World of the Narrow series. The Fable and Namesake are the first two, and then The Last Legacy. You can catch my detailed thoughts in my reading vlog, but I gave this book 3 stars. This book is about Bryn, and she is raised as a lady, and she is supposed to go to her uncle as part of an agreement and basically help him in the family business. That's all I'm really going to say about that. But if you want more information, go check out my reading blog. The next book that I read is Spy Family Volume 11. I'm already at 11. And as usual, I gave this book a 5 stars. Most of these books are 4.5 or 5 stars for me, just because they're cozy and they're easy to read and they're just so fun. Spy Family is a series of manga about a spy, and he has to go undercover, so he adopts a little girl and goes into an arranged marriage. And the little girl is a telepath, the wife is an assassin, and the spy and the assassin don't know what the other one does. I'm sure eventually they're going to have to find out or something, because there's no way they can just keep going on without knowing. I really enjoy this series, and I definitely recommend picking it up. The next book that I read is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I read this book, I think in 2018. I don't know, I read this a few years ago, and I needed to reread it because I want to finish the series, and I couldn't really remember what happened in this book. And it was so nice to return to this like whimsical fairy tale-esque book. I'd never done this before, but I've seen people make Pinterest boards for books, and I actually ended up doing one for Caraval just because I wanted something visual while reading this book, and there's already a lot of fan art with this book, so that was kind of neat. So Caraval is about a girl named Scarlett and her sister Tella. So there's a really strong sister relationship in this book, and Scarlett is to be wed, and her sister runs away to Caraval, and so Scarlett has to go after her, basically. Caraval is this once a year performance, and you can either choose to play or you can choose just to watch, and Scarlett ends up having to play to find her sister. So the stakes are kind of high. Like, she has to find her sister and make it back to her father before he figures out that they're missing. And she's also getting married in like a week. So very fast paced. I enjoyed this book. I gave it a 3.5. I think originally I gave this a 4 stars, but I just find Scarlett a little insufferable. I really do like the writing in this book though, and I do like the sister relationship. I just think Scarlett's a little whiny. Anyway, that's Caraval. The next book that I read is Before the Devil Breaks You by Bray. This is the 3rd book in the Diviners series, and because it's the 3rd book, I don't want to say too much about what the plot is about, but just know that we are still following the Diviners, who are a group of 17, 18-year-olds that all have powers. And this book, oh my god, I gave this book 5 stars. But there's a part in the book where I was driving to work and something catastrophic happens, and I was like crying while driving to work. And on my way home, I was like, okay, I need to figure out what happens. So I decided to listen on my way home. I cried for a different reason on my way home. Like, this book, y'all, this book You get so attached to these characters, and buddy, oh buddy, I really, really enjoy this series. This is definitely a 5-star series for me. The next book that I read is The Haunting of Ashburn House. I gave this book 3 stars. This book is your typical haunted house story. This woman inherits this house from her great aunt or something like that, and she knows nothing about this woman. And she shows up, and the neighbors show up with like goodies in hand, and they're like, hey, like, this is our only opportunity to see this house and introduce themselves and find a way in. So you feel like there's something odd about this house. The main character keeps finding these like little hints around the house, like remember to light the candle on Friday and things, and scratch marks on the table that are leaving messages and stuff. And then her acquaintances that from the town start telling her eerie things about the house, and she's just very skeptical. But things do occur, and it is a little spooky, but overall I think like there was no tension building, and so that's why it's only a 3 for me. The next book that I read is Mother-Daughter Murder Night, and this is on Reese's Book Club's list, and her books on her list are a little hit or miss for me. Some of them are really enjoyed, some of them are meh. This one was meh. This one was a 3.5 for me. So Mother-Daughter Murder Night is about 3 generations of women. You have the grandma, the mom, and the daughter. The daughter works for a paddleboat kayak rental store. She's about 16. She's very good at her job, and she ends up leading these paddleboat excursions in they call it the slough, in the water. 2 of her group members end up finding a body in the water, and the detectives basically start blaming the daughter, the main character. Her name's Jack. So the mom and grandma are pissed, and they come to Jack's defense. But grandma is this very like hoity-toity, well-to-do lady, and she has breast cancer, and she basically needs a place to stay, so she ends up moving in with daughter and Jack. So there is a lot of focus on relationships between mother and daughter, on, you know, grandma and mom and daughter, that kind of thing, and then also a relationship between grandma and Jack. There is quite a few triggers in this book, so I would definitely look those up before you go into this book. I really enjoyed this. I felt like this book was a little bit long. It definitely dragged in the middle, and I feel like the title was kind of misleading. They call it Mother-Daughter Murder Night because the mom and grandma, when they were younger, used to watch a detective show together, and like that's what they would name it. They call that the night that they would watch the detective show Mother-Daughter Murder Night, because they would try to solve the case on the murder show before the detective could. I don't know. Part of me was kind of thinking this was going to be them killing people, but I digress. That was on me. I don't read the synopsis of books before I go into them usually, so it wasn't a bad book. It was just a little slow for me, and I did end up giving it a 3.5. The next book that I read, oh my gosh, you guys. So I read Bride by Allie Hazlewood. This is my first Allie Hazlewood book, and I feel like I've been sleeping on her because I've been missing out. Oh my gosh, this was so good. I actually read this while I was in Montana, and I listened on the way home, and this book is spicy, and so I was sitting in between my husband on one side and a complete stranger on the other, and I was like sitting there with my headphones listening to the spicy book, like trying not to blush. Thankfully the stranger fell asleep, but yeah, that was an interesting experience. I really love this book. It is so cute. Okay, so this book is about a vampire named Misery, and she is forced into an arranged marriage to create an alliance between the vampires and the werewolves. So she is married off to the alpha of a werewolf group, and his name is Lo. It's a formality. It's just on paper only. Like, they don't actually have to act like a married couple or anything like that. but there is like a little bit of a slow burn. And Lo has a little sister, and she is adorable. And there is a cat that Misery cannot stand, but it's so cute. And like, it's not only about the romance, it's also, Misery's best friend went missing, and so that adds more depth to the book. Like, I like the romance, but I also like that there was more of the plot. It wasn't just like, oh, she's forced into this marriage, like, let's see how this plays out. No, it was like she went into this marriage to save her best friend because there's a hint of when her best friend goes missing that leads to the werewolves. I'm not going to spoil too much, but so Misery ends up going into this marriage to look for her best friend, the only person that she cares about. And it is so good. It's so good. Just be warned. Be prepared for the spiciness and the slow burn, and I think you guys will really like it. Bride was obviously a 5 stars for me. Bride was my favorite book of the month. The next book that I read is The Village Library Demon Hunting Society. That is a mouthful. I gave this book 2 stars. This book is about a librarian. She came from New York City. She was living in a small town, and all of these murders happen in our small town. She doesn't really start to think anything of it until her romantic partner is murdered, and she then sits down and realizes that the murders that she's helping solve, which I think is kind of weird in and of itself, there's been 16 of them. It's quite high for such a small community. I think there's only like 7,000 people, if that, or something like that. So she starts to think, like, what the heck is going on? And she starts to investigate more and discovers that there is a demon among them. This book was really, really slow, ridiculously slow. The first part of the book, she solves a murder like super quickly, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe this is like just her solving murders. But then I was actually about to DNF it, and then she went home and her cat started talking to her, and I was like, whoa, this took a turn. So I kept reading, and I kind of regret that I did, because it's a long book and it was only 2 stars, but I just think that the ending was very rushed and not well done, like kind of a cop-out almost. The next book that I read is Something Wicked This Way Comes by Bradbury. This book was kind of like a fever dream. This book is about these 2 young boys, and there is a carnival that comes to town, and they are very excited about it. But some weird things start happening at the carnival, and they just kind of find themselves trapped there. There's some like evil things that are lurking, and it's just, like I said, it feels kind of like a fever dream. I give this book 3 stars. It's classic. I enjoyed it. It was very fast paced, so it was easy for me to read it in a day. And I do feel like it's acceptable for all audiences. The boys are 12 years old. I don't think all audiences would understand what's going on. I know there's a movie for Something Wicked This Way Comes as well, so I'm going to have to check that out. The next book that I read, King of Crows by Libba Bray. This is the 4th and final book in the Diviner series. I have a vlog coming out that y'all can go check out, but this book made me sob. Like, I thought I cried in this book. No. I just freaking lost it in this book. Oh my god. So this is obviously the finale for the Diviners, and we have so much tension building between the world of the dead and humankind, and the Diviners are just kind of caught up in the middle of it. I don't really know what else to tell you guys about this book, because it is the last book. Just be prepared if you do read this book. Be prepared, have some tissues, because it's going to make you cry. I mean, I was with these characters for 4 books, so this is a 5-star series for me. I will keep recommending this to everybody that wants to listen to me talk about paranormal books. Please, please read this. This is so good. And even though this book itself was a 4-star for me, it's a 5-star series. And this book was a 4-star because I feel like the ending was very rushed and the solution was like there the whole time. Does that make sense? It's not like they went on this long journey and it seemed like the solution was right there in front of them the whole time. So it was kind of like, oh, we just went on this long journey for half the book for what reason? That part was a little annoying. Please read King of Crows. Please read the Diviner series. It's so good. And if you like anything paranormal, you will not be disappointed. The series has it all. It's got ghosts, witches, psychic abilities, good versus evil. They're good books. And the last book that I read this month is called Killers of a Certain Age. This book is about an all-female assassins group, and they are invited to their retirement party on an all-expense-paid cruise by their company. And when they get on the boat, they realize that they are being targeted by their company. Stakes are high, their lives are at risk, and it was very fast-paced. I really enjoyed the pacing of this book. I also enjoyed that they flash back to when they were younger, when they first started their training, and when they first met each other, and how this group kind of formed. So I really like that. I like that they flash back to missions that they had too. This book is kind of like The Kingsman meets The Golden Girls, and there's also the sentimental part of just life too. These are 60-plus-year-old women. So they talk about menopause. They talk about having spouses that, they don't know their secrets, and one of their spouses has passed on, and it's talking about her grieving, and it's got the slower bits too. And so I really did like this book. I gave it a 3.5. I think the slower bits, when it talks about grieving and stuff like that kind of threw me off. Kind of wanted like a fast-paced action novel, and I also got the feminist rage part of it as well. So, alright, so in terms of stats, I got my handy dandy notebook here. I read 11 books, 3 physical, 7 audio, and 1 ebook. I read a total of 4,144 pages. That's an average of 134 pages per day. I read 1 book every 3.5 days on average. And my average rating was 3.7, which is kind of low. Last month was 4. I read 8 female authors, 2 male authors, and 5 new-to-me authors. I read 1 middle grade, 5 young adult, and 5 adult. I read 7 fantasy, 3 thriller, and 1 other. And I finished my 10 series. My favorite book of the month was Bride by Allie Hazlewood, and my runner-up favorite is Before the Devil Breaks You. I am looking forward to November, and I am doing a reading challenge in one of my online book clubs. We are doing a reading challenge this month, so we are trying to read as many pages as possible. Like, we're competing, 2 groups are competing against each other, so we're trying to read the most pages just for fun, just for bragging rights. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys soon in a new video. If you are still hanging out with me, please comment down below, like, subscribe. I always appreciate your support on my channel. And if you don't know what to comment, comment a little leaf, because finally the leaves here are starting to change, and fall is my favorite time of the year. And I will see you guys soon. Happy reading. Let's try that again. That's a big ass crow, man. Oh. I don't know if it's a bad omen or not. Oh, and there's a squirrel. Okay. I'm getting a phone call. Hello. No, I'm just making YouTube videos and gonna edit in a little bit. He's trying to start a fight club between the squirrels and Murphy, so there's this cute little squirrel out there just foraging for stuff in our lawn. He's so cute. Anyway. What the heck? I guess that's a good way to explain it, yeah. What can I tell you about this book that I already haven't said?